Welcome, 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 all of our beautiful friends all around the world. So incredibly grateful to be here with you in this moment. Please feel free to let us know where you are down in the comments. I always love seeing where our friends are around the world. And this is our community. So please feel free to comment in the comment area and ask your questions and let us know that you're receiving all the love and light that we are bringing here with you today. And such an incredible honor. Today we have Angel Aquarian with us. Yay!
Yay.
I get tingles up the spine just even seeing your amazing beauty and light. And so you are an earth-based medicine practitioner, feminine wisdom keeper, and visionary. Wow. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for that beautiful warm welcome. I'm so grateful to be here with you.
Yeah. Oh, so there are so many ways that we can go right now. Would you be open to sharing a little bit about you and your story and what has brought you to this moment right now?
Yes. Let me see if I can put that in a short description. It's been quite the journey. So I was originally born on the big island of Hawaii near the active volcano Kilauea. My mother free birthed me by herself, and I was an 11-pound baby just about. And then we moved. Oh, that was also during the harmonic convergence of 1987. And she moved us away when I was little because she understood that she needed support to raise children. So I spent most of my upbringing moving around the country. I've lived in almost every part of the country. I spent my childhood in New Mexico. I've lived in several different states in the Midwest. I've lived on the West Coast. I've lived on the East Coast. No, my family's not in the military. It was just in my divine blueprint to have a life that was gonna make me highly adaptable, which I feel is very useful. It's a very useful skill to have right now on the planet with all the change happening. So I spent most of my life moving around. I always felt this deep connection with Hawaii, but I didn't have any recollection of it because we moved away when I was so little. And then I learned who Pele was, the volcano goddess, when I was about 19 years old. And I just was so completely overwhelmed with emotion. Like, this was my mother, who I'd never met before and no one told me about. And I reached out to my real mother, my birth mother, and asked her about it. And she was just so casual and just saying like, oh yeah, Pele's your other mother. And I was like, why is this affecting me so deeply? And I just felt like I needed to go home. I felt like I had no memory of Hawaii, but deep in my soul, I felt like I had lived there for my entire life and missed it deeply. So when I finally got old enough and got enough of my ducks in a row, I moved myself back when I was 23 or 24. I spent my teenage years being really wild and crazy and partying a bunch and being promiscuous and experimenting in all of the ways that I could, which obviously led me into a lot of toxicity and drama and an incredible amount of pain and suffering and darkness that I had to pull myself out of. And I did that by joining a yoga teacher training when I was like 22 or 23 that pulled me out of it. And I just, as soon as I left all of that, the partying and everything, and I stopped heavily polluting my body, my soul mission naturally started coming online. I started naturally feeling this like beckoning or calling within me to like something, to a calling, to something bigger, to a purpose. I couldn't hear it clearly yet. I had an incredible amount of healing that I needed to go through, which would take many more years. Healing's never done, as you know. But I just kept going. I kept devoting to myself and my own healing. I put myself through yoga teacher training, then I put myself through a health coaching program, which radically changed my life and taught me a lot about my body and got me into exercising regularly, which I had never done before. I was like the slowest person in gym class, which like I don't even think I would run the mile because I fucking hated it. So I did that, and I used that health coaching program to prepare me for my launch to Hawaii, my big, huge launch back home. And it took every bit of resourcing and creativity and belief that I had possible to make that move there. And then when I got home, when I got to Hawaii, it was like a dream come true. The thing that I had been feeling longing for my entire life. And the island just started taking care of me. It just started putting me in the right places with the right people at the right times, the right opportunities. Doors opened where there were once only walls. I had an unfortunate encounter where I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, and I got assaulted on the street late at night, and I almost got raped, and came out of that with serious PTSD. But that experience actually ended up being divine intervention because it pulled me out of the path of jobs and careers that I was on, which was bartending and serving. And it forced me to go into a more healing environment and away from that path. And I spent a few years really deeply working on healing this post-traumatic stress syndrome that was created from that. I had a phantom attacker that I would feel behind me for at least 2 years when I would go jogging or riding my bike. So it was a big ordeal to courageously show up for my daily exercise every day and reclaiming my independence, even though there was this huge fear literally behind my back every day. But I just kept going, and eventually I lovingly soothed it enough in myself to feel confident and safe in the world again. And about a year after that, I received this powerful activation when I was still in Hawaii. And I just started planning for India. I think it was my yoga teacher training that first introduced me to Ayurveda. And then when my sister got pregnant with her first child, I went crazy in like all the Ayurvedic wisdom about pregnancy and birth. And it just totally blew my mind because there's like no other perspective in detail about it like Ayurveda offers. So I was completely hooked in to Ayurveda for years before I went to Hawaii. I was reading books and studying it and doing all the things that I could on my own, in addition to all kinds of different cleanses and detoxes and personal development programs and meditations and everything that I could possibly immerse myself in to heal, because I felt so utterly broken and like I couldn't function in the world right. I was tired, I was anxious, I was depressed. You know, I did drugs for like 10 years. So coming off of that and having to learn how to handle the stresses of life without a crutch was extremely challenging for me. And it took me years to heal it. And eventually I went to India and I went to school there, and I got deeply immersed in an extremely intensive program that was at least 2 years worth of curriculum squeezed into a few months. And while I was there, I went through Panchakarma, which is deep, powerful purification Ayurvedic treatments. And I don't even know how to put in words what I experienced. because it was purging 10 years of toxicity and drug use. And at that time, I was deeply in love with someone, and something sudden and traumatic happened with them when I was on the other side of the world, and I lost them suddenly from my life while I was going through this deep, powerful purge. So I basically felt like I died. I felt like the intense amount of emotional energy that was like suddenly released out of my being, in addition to all of the toxins that were like suddenly very powerfully being purged out of me, totally just like broke me open, and I was nothing. And that was at the beginning of my time in India. So I spent the next several months basically just trying to survive the experience, because I was in the most anguishing heartache I'd ever experienced in my entire life, and really weak from the treatments, and completely overwhelmed with the amount of curriculum that I was having to keep up with. And it was insane. So I finally came home from India reluctantly, had no idea how I was going to go back to Hawaii without my beloved, who I left with in a very beautiful divine union with. And when I went back to Hawaii, nothing felt the same for me. And I was still very deeply, deeply hurt and wounded by that entire experience. And I didn't know quite exactly what I was going to do. But my time in India gave me such a powerful experience in deeply trusting myself and listening to my intuition, that nothing ever was going to thwart that from me again, thwart me from listening to that guidance. And so I ended up doing a 10-day silent meditation retreat in Northern California. And during that time, I got an incredible amount of clarity, and I really, truly came into a state of samadhi where I felt complete oneness with everyone and total bliss. And I got the intuitive guidance that I was going to be leaving Hawaii, to my complete shock, because I spent my entire life trying to get back there. So there's no way I would have ever left. But that's what my guidance told me I needed to do. So I left. I sold all my things. I got rid of my car, and I just flew away without much plan. I just knew that I was going to be okay. I knew that I had gained this incredible amount of wisdom in India, and for the many years that I'd already been working on my own path of mastery. And I just set off on this journey following purely my intuition, which has led me around the country over the last 5 years now, since I've been away from Hawaii. And I kind of feel like I retrace a lot of my steps during my childhood, because I've literally traveled from the West Coast to the East Coast and everywhere in between for the last 5 years, meeting incredible light workers in every single place that I have landed, and activating the grid as much as I possibly could, while going through incredible initiations and plenty of darkness and distortion that is to be expected on the mainland. And I eventually started, my soul has been leading me a trail of breadcrumbs to follow, and it eventually led me into the online space to create my own coaching packages and programs to start bringing all of the medicine that I carry now into the lives of other people. And yeah, that brings us to today.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing that incredible, incredible journey. So many pieces of your life. I'm like, yep, 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 yep. Like so many resonances, like same frequency, like absolutely. Were you up in Rishikesh in India? What part were you in?
I was down in Kerala. That's where
Okay.
Ayurveda comes from.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean, I went down there as well, but most of my time was up in Rishikesh for my yoga teacher training. And it's just amazing that you went through everything that you went through in a place like India, because India alone just either chews people up and spits them out, or, is like this big mama hug.
I think it probably does both. If you get the hug, you're still getting chewed up.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine going through. I really wanted to do the panchakarma that I eventually did get to do. I did it here in Santa Cruz. But after our yoga teacher trainer, one of my girlfriends in the program did it there. And it was, even after all the time that I was there and learned everything that I did, I still was like, so you're in a box where your head is sticking out, like, or she was telling me about how they keep your eyes open with the ghee. And I'm kind of like, really? This is really what you're doing? Like,
oh my God. There are some really bizarre aspects to panchakarma. And I know that pretty much every institution has their own version of the program. As far as I know, out of all the research I've done, there's not actually a place in America that offers the full experience like I had. I did it for 2.5 months.
Wow. Yeah, hers was like 21 days, but that's incredible.
Yeah, it was really intense and not for everyone. But it changed my life.
Would you do it again?
Absolutely. I'm actually planning on, I'm intending to go back for one of my friend's weddings this year and go back for another round of it.
Yeah. The first one that I did was after my firstborn. I had heard that it's really great to go through that after having a baby, after giving birth. And so I did that. And I was like, wow. I could see how it could just be such an incredible support system in any really big thing that happens in our life, whether having a baby or not, right? Like just this,
Totally.
like you said, like just helps get all the gunk out in a very cathartic way, and supports you to get over to the other side. And so,
yeah.
And
I think it's probably a little bit less dramatic in America.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Mine was like 2 people at a time massaging me, and it was just much more like, and I think I only did, like, I did the kitchery and like the small diet for like 40 days or however long I did it, but it was only like 1 week of the actual, like, really getting in and doing all of that stuff with my body. So
sure. Yeah, could you imagine getting those treatments for 2.5 months?
Right. Yeah. I can imagine where it's like a rebirthing process, because literally your body's different, right? Because they've literally given all of your cells, every single bit of your body is like your organs, like all of it is completely new. So you're in
your bones.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Every piece of your body completely. And it's totally a rebirth.
Right. And so it's almost like you have to, like, the friend that was my inspiration to want to do it, that did the 21 days. She had, was a paratrooper, and like her parachute didn't open. And so like literally was reborn. Like she like fell and her whole body had to learn to walk again, like all of it. Right. Like it's crazy, crazy experience. And then to go through panchakarma, right? So it's like and I just didn't fully understand what she was going through at the time. I couldn't really grasp it. And so
that's incredible. I'm so grateful that she was led to panchakarma, because there's truly nothing else like it that can rejuvenate the body like that.
Yeah. I mean, amazing. Yeah. She was in Hawaii. It was while they were filming this show called Lost. It was crazy. It was just
so funny. When I lived in Hawaii, I helped my mom run a security company, and our main guy used to work on the set of Lost.
all the little things. Like, it's just so amazing when you look over your life and all the ways that, like, who knows, all the lives that you've impacted, right? Because of all the travel that you've done, and just by even a beautiful smile to someone, just like the little butterfly effect, right? It's just incredible.
Yeah, it's really beautiful to have that reminder regularly for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay. So Ayurveda, that's one of your amazing support systems. And so it sounds like you also, on your amazing journey through life, have been in touch with all these other light workers and light beings. And so I imagine, I know for me, it's inspiring to want to try everything and receive and you know, maybe even get certified along the way. And so were you finding that there were other tools besides just this kind of Indian lineage that were supporting you along the way that
Definitely.
okay. Do you want to share about any of them?
Absolutely. Yes. The other biggest impact of all of the healing paths that I have been guided on has been menstrual cycle awareness. So another one of the things that happened, so my Saturn return was fucking epic. And I experienced what I call my divine feminine awakening during that time, which was triggered by a really bad lover. And my body basically just decided to completely reject all forms of intimacy. And I just felt so repulsed by anybody even coming near my body. Even myself, there was like a period of time where I just had to leave her the fuck alone. You know, like Gaia kind of needs everyone to just leave her alone. That's kind of what my body asked of me. So that happened, and I felt the intuitive guidance finally that I was ready enough to stop taking birth control, which I had been on for almost a decade. And I stopped taking birth control. I threw away all my bras. I threw away all my makeup. I stopped shaving. I stopped plucking my eyebrows. I went through this like total just awakening that was very like the feminine waking up in me and me actually like hearing her within me and what she wants. And it was like a total deprogramming of all of the societal programming that I had received about how to be a woman and what's important and how to look and all of the things. So I just went through this phase of totally rejecting all of it and becoming super hairy and wearing baggy clothes and rejecting my beauty and just trying to like not be the big beautiful woman in the room. And I kind of just like shrunk down and like let myself rejuvenate for a while. I was celibate for a while, and during that time actually I had almost gotten raped, right? And it forced me out of the job that I had. And synchronistically enough, this is how magical life can be. My mom just so happened to like be starting a business in Hawaii, even though she wasn't living there. And I just so happened to need a job at the time. So she gave me a job, and I ended up having more time freedom than I had ever had in my life before. And I started having time to not work during my period. And just being at home while I bled started healing me, especially when I stopped taking birth control. And I was really fucked up for like a year after taking birth control. I just want to say that out of all of the mind altering substances and all of the pharmaceuticals and everything that I have experienced, nothing was harder for my system to recalibrate from than birth control. It took a long time for my entire body and system to finally be able to be stable. Like I wasn't even able to be around more than a couple of people for a long period of time. I was completely overwhelmed and like I couldn't even function for a long time. And during that time, I started staying home for my bleeds, and my womb started communicating with me. intuitively, like, the wisdom of the womb and the feminine does to us. She started communicating with me and mentoring me. I didn't quite understand what was happening yet, but after I returned from India, just like a few months into my journey coming back to the mainland, I discovered a book about menstrual cycle awareness, and it put everything that my womb had been teaching me for years into words and showed me that this is a thing and that most women have fucking no idea about any of this and that it's really needed in the world. So I started hosting women's circles to share this menstrual cycle awareness wisdom with people and some of the Ayurvedic medicine that I have. And the response that I got from women in person was just completely mind-blowing. Like that one circle changed their entire life. And I experienced another huge activation within me. And I just started like serving. I just finally stopped listening to the fear and I started serving. I started, like doing yoga sessions in studios that I'd never done before. I started hosting women's circles. I started getting online more, getting health coaching clients and teaching vegetarian cooking classes. It was just like this huge activation where I was just like booming. And then I had another huge, crazy initiation happen where I had to go completely silent for a while, which I'm not going to go into right now. And I had to, move through these really difficult challenges and develop my character enough to be able to show up in the level of embodiment that I'm at right now. So since many years ago, when I first stumbled upon menstrual cycle awareness intuitively, I hosted a hugely successful summit back in 2020 called Awakening to the Magic of the Menstrual Cycle, where I interviewed 26 women from around the world who are also in this field of work of womb wisdom. And that totally changed my life. And that connected me with not only all of those expert women, but hundreds of other women from around the world that were just blown away by this wisdom. Mm. And then last year, I launched my first course, Reclaiming the Magic of the Menstrual Cycle, where I teach everything that I've learned about this journey. And my personal avenue for it is very spiritual. I'm not as much into the scientific hormonal aspect of it. I'm very much into menstruation being a path of initiation for women. And I teach the perspective that Native Americans hold, which is, the moon lodges and menstruation actually being a time for a woman to vision quest. Like they do their vision quest when they go out to their sacred sites and they don't need to eat or drink and they're completely isolated in nature for a few days because they're questing for a vision, wisdom for their path, for themselves, for their community. That's what menstruation's meant to be. It's not meant to be something that's totally agonizing for women. And before I started healing, I had serious emotional and mental disturbance every month, like to the point where I slit my wrists and was totally fucking psychotic, almost going to the mental hospital. And I would feel mentally ill, very dangerously unstable every single month before when I was totally asleep. And it was very painful for me. So it was a huge source of trauma and stress for me. And now that I have cultivated a life that allows me to honor it in the way that the Indigenous used to, it is the most deep, profound source for medicine, insight, wisdom, healing, transformation that I tap into every single month. So now I'm supporting other women to start tapping into that medicine on their own. And over the last 6 years since I've been to India, I've been integrating the huge experience that it was and working to figure out how the hell to apply this wisdom to modern Americans where there seems to be no room for it because a huge amount of it is slowing the fuck down and listening to your body. So after the last 6 years, I have finally integrated it enough and created a program that I just launched called Goddess of Longevity, where I teach how to understand the language of Ayurveda, to look at your body through that lens, the world around you, how to treat imbalances within yourself, how to use food as medicine, like a prescription, not just like eating healthy, but actually what's going on in my body and what kind of meal can I make to balance whatever that imbalance is. And also in the program, I teach you how to do a lot of these treatments on yourself at home. So that's a 4-month program. And yeah, the menstrual cycle awareness is huge for me. I'm all about womb wisdom and Ayurveda.
Yay. What an amazing combination too. Like, I love how you put those together. I'm actually in the middle of a course about something like this, and it's completely, and I already like, I went to UC Santa Cruz here. And so we were all wearing, not shaving and all the things. And I actually did like an amazing, like one of my really big papers before I left was on menstrual synchronicity and how living together, we can impact one another. So I was already kind of like in tune with all that, but still didn't really know how deeply this impacts us on all these other levels. And so it's like, so grateful that there are these pioneers, really is what I see you as, because somehow this wisdom is still not really as available as it can be. And so I'm just so grateful. And I still have so much to learn. It's just incredible. Right? Like,
yeah. Well, I don't think that ever ends. And these ancient teachings, all of the colonialism and all of the malevolent forces that have been, fucking around with humanity for thousands of years, tried like hell to stifle every bit of what used to be considered secret knowledge. And it didn't work because it lives inside of us. It's in our akash, it's in our DNA. And it was only a matter of time before we were going to be on the planet and the energy was going to shift enough for us to finally be able to start tapping into all of that incredible wisdom that we have gained for the entire time that humanity has existed on Earth. So it's just time, and it's getting released more and more. It's like it's almost like this fairy dust that's just like permeating the atmosphere and like getting into more people's fields, and it's just kind of like waking up the dormant information that has been laying there waiting for the right time. And it's so incredible, and I am just beyond grateful and excited to be on the planet right now and to be one of the forerunners leading humanity through this incredible rebirth of an entire planet. It's a huge deal.
It's so incredible. It's so incredible. And I can relate the analogy of what you're talking about, this like dormant being asleep, like with my own body. I mean, a big part of this course is like actually feeling your vagina and going inside and feeling parts of your body that I thought that I had been in tune with, and
Totally.
that I hadn't been, right? I was like, what? And my whole life I've known my spine to be like not vertical, like despite all of the things that I have done, right? Like all of the things, the scoliosis has just always been there. And who knew that going internally was going to be the thing that was going to unlock the freaking gate open? It was, I just blown away. I had no idea. I just had no idea. And so when I hear that there are these amazing goddesses like you out there, like spreading this wisdom, this medicine, I'm just so grateful. And also like, let's get that out there, spread it. Because
oh my gosh,
absolutely, yes. When you're in tune, when you're letting the womb be your guide and using your menstrual cycle and all of everything that you're sharing, it's no longer this part, right? It's like, it's letting the womb and the heart be your guide.
And the body, not the mind.
Right. Getting like, we don't even really need the mind. I mean, the mind, you can help you like to drive your car or whatever, like get these kind of tasks done.
Doesn't heal.
But the heart and the womb are really, and even if we don't have all of the parts, like it doesn't matter if some of the parts have been removed or the organs aren't
Right.
still there, right? Like that still is, that energy is still there, and it still needs
Totally.
to be cultivated and have attention and um be the source of your guide in your life.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, as long as you still have a body,
Right.
there's divinity in it for you to tap into, regardless of what state it's in. As long as you're still in a body, you're still here, you're still in the game, on the ground. There's still so much magic, potential, and healing for you that's available, as long as you're still here.
Yeah. And actually having the body is the way in. Like, it's like, so whatever is being held in the body in whatever way is kind of the key. Like once we're able to listen, and that's another thing that I've found in my life is like, I've been on the journey. I've gone to India. I've traveled and lived around the world in intentional communities, right? Like I literally feel like I've done it all, and yet what I found was the approach was still like trying to heal as opposed to incorporate and be whole. And so now I'm finding that parts of my body that I had like this certain sensations and relationships with for so long, they had gone dormant because I kept giving them the message, I don't want to hear you. I don't want to feel you. I just want you to go away. And now they're coming back up again, which is so incredible, right? Because I think also for me with my journey, like becoming a mother and really having to deepen my compassion and my self-love so that I can then give it to my children and hold space for them and all the mirror work and all that amazing stuff that happens.
Yeah.
Now my body's like, okay, now you know how to do this. Okay. So now I'm ready to, let you hold space for me and feel me and accept me and receive me and all of that. So I don't know where I started going with all this, but yeah, it's just the body. The body is just
Totally.
really a huge part for me of this awakening that we're all going through and can really, help us get in there. So
Yeah, and I just want to add, if you don't mind, I look at the body, especially the female body, but all bodies, as Mother Earth. And as we're becoming more body conscious, it's a reflection of us becoming more conscious of our planet. So I'm always reminding people that, when you're working to heal yourself and listen to your own body and learn to trust it and pay attention to it and love it, that's you also helping Mother Earth and the entire collective. So it's literally the most important work that anyone can do on the planet right now, despite what your mind ever tries to convince you of. The most important work is inside and on your own transformation, especially right now on the planet, because that is the work we are faced with. It's planetary transformation, and it happens through each individual. You can't transform outside. You have to go inside.
absolutely. And whenever we're seeing these triggers or seeing something that we're kind of like, ooh, I don't like that, it's just an opportunity to go within and see what part of myself have I not allowed myself to see or feel or receive. Because I just remember when I was doing my YTT in Rishikesh, they were talking about the just basically how everything's a mirror. And I just feel like the more that I get to know that and the more that I receive that, it can go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper.
Totally. Well, we're infinite beings, And I wanted to add a little bit to what you have been talking about, like when you were talking about your spine and being totally blown away that doing internal work would affect that, I have had experiences before, not quite like that, but actually very similar, where like I tend to one part of my body that's never been tended to before, and some other part on the total opposite of my body responds, and I'm like, what?
Mhm.
Like the last time I went and got internal work done by a practitioner, like my whole head opened up in a way that it never has before from getting my yoni work done. It's freaking wild. That place down there is like a whole universe. Like we don't even know. Like it's not just a vagina. It's
Oh yeah.
literally a whole universe
That's
that
right.
we are totally ignorant of.
Yeah. No, it goes all the way up to my right ear. I've always had ringing in my right ear for as long as I can remember. And it turns out that that right side of my spine, right, like so down at the bottom, it's like curved or whatever. It actually like has elongated my entire spine. And so what it's done is it's like relaxed the whole right side of my spine all the way up into my ear.
Yeah,
It's just like,
it's crazy because the whole body is connected.
absolutely.
That's one of the ways that that allopathic medicine falls short, because it compartmentalizes the body and doesn't look at it as this whole living organism. It wants to section everything off, and that's not the way it works. And when you start coming into multidimensional consciousness, and you also take into consideration your mental body, your emotional body, your spiritual body, and how all of those affect your physical body, the root of all physical illness is in all those non-physical bodies first. So you have to take those into consideration when you're healing. Yes, work on your physical body, but if you're not addressing all the other bodies, you're missing a whole huge portion of yourself. Like the reason that you're in pain here is probably because, like you said, there's something that you're avoiding in your emotional body.
Mhm.
So it's like we have to really totally open up our minds to like how incredible and complex the human actually is.
Mhm.
It's profound.
It is. It absolutely is. And I know for me and many of the people that I'm watching online right now in our online world, this spring equinox has like been unlike any spring equinox I've ever experienced. I mean, I
Me too.
recently I picked the card crack open and I feel like I'm like you on that punch karma where my whole body is like going through the whole thing and I'm like reborn. And so what are you sharing with your clients and what are you sharing with the people that you're in contact with support? And what did you do after that, 2.5 months? Like, how are you helping people support get back online and because they are in this like whole new space?
Yeah. Yeah, so I have a few offerings that I'm doing right now. I still have a little bit of space for private mentorship for 3 or 6 months. That's more accustomed to the individual's needs,
Mhm.
more in depth. I also have my 4-month program, Goddess of Longevity, which is all about learning Ayurveda and how to treat yourself, taking your health into your own hands. I also am offering my course, Reclaiming the Magic of the Menstrual Cycle, as a private coaching program right now. And I just opened up some spaces for a guided cleanse. I'm actually going through one right now. That's one of the most powerful tools that I have used over all of the years, is constantly resetting, because when you're trying to pull yourself out of the matrix and the old highly dysfunctional way of living, which everyone is currently trying to figure out how the hell to get out of right now,
Mhm.
there's a tremendous amount against you.
Mhm.
There's a tremendous amount that's trying to keep you sick and unbalanced and distracted. And it takes years. It literally takes years of resetting, of realigning, then going back and indulging, and then resetting. And you slowly start shifting your way of being out of that old paradigm and into a totally new culture that you have to create for yourself, because the culture we were born in is toxic.
Mhm.
And the only way that we can get out of it is to create a new culture. So until all of us are blessed with the opportunity to live in conscious communities, it requires a tremendous amount of devotion to yourself to create your own culture, to save yourself.
Mm.
So that's really what I'm helping humanity do in the biggest way possible, is to create a new culture and start coming home to yourself. Start getting some of the pollution out of your body, because when you're really polluted, you are not yourself. When you're really tired, you're not yourself. So there is a very real need to purify your physical body in order to access more of yourself, more of your gifts, more of your wisdom. So cleaning up the body and the planet as a whole is a big part of what I'm doing right now. I will be hosting some group cleanses and courses in the future, but that's what I have on offer right now. I do have I have a few workshops coming up. I'm going to be doing one on Ayurveda. I'm also going to be doing one on relationships and the menstrual cycle, which I'm super excited about because that's huge and so many people need guidance on it. And I've had a tremendous amount of requests to do that. So that's going to be coming up in the coming weeks. And because I've had so many people just rave about it, I'm also going to be doing some master classes for making gourmet Ayurvedic raw pies.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. That's
All
all.
of that.
Is key lime one of them? That's like one of my favorites.
I just made one of those not too long ago. It was incredible.
Ridiculous.
Totally.
It's so easy. It's like, what? Yeah,
I know, and so much better for you.
I know. I know. Oh my gosh. So let me look and see. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. We'll just let everyone please know that a lot of people in this community tend to watch this in the future.
Mhm.
So the replay, I guess, is what I'm saying. So please write your questions in your comments and we can always just come and circle back in because yeah, that's what we're here for. Yay. And so of course I'll bring in all of your contact information as soon as this gets as soon as we finish up so people can reach out to you and all your amazing offerings. Oh my gosh. Such a wealth of medicine, my goodness.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, how exciting to see it all come together and yeah, amazing. How amazing.
Yeah.
Kind of like we don't need to go to college or university, right? Let's just all come to amazing medicine bearers.
Totally. Well, yeah, and eventually I fully see myself actually having an entire school and academy.
Please
You
do.
know, maybe like in my mothering and crone years, but yeah, because all of that is the old system of doing it anyways. Who actually makes a lot of money with their college education other than the governments that take all of your money for student loans? And how much of that is actually helping humanity evolve? Don't get me started on that. No offense to everyone who's gone to college. I totally went also.
Yeah. I did too. And then I questioned like for many, many years afterwards, like, gosh, I feel like I learned so much more in life from like traveling around and living in these intentional communities.
Totally.
So, nonviolent communication and other like incredible tools that have supported me to actually live on purpose. So
yeah. Life is the biggest teacher. That's why we come here, is to learn from life. It's such a blessing.
It totally is. Oh my gosh. Yay. Thank you again so much for being here. I would love to have you back. I feel like there's so many other layers that we could talk about. So yay. Thank you so
Definitely.
much for taking time out of your day to be here with us. Thank you, beautiful community, for being here. I love you all. Have such a magical, magical day. Bye-bye.